Hey everyone, this is Jellyfinks. I'm a pixel artist and a solo game developer and someone with a lot of dreams to achieve. First and foremost, welcome to the very first video on my channel. Today, I'll be drawing the Stonewall Inn and the Stonewall National Monument to remind the power of LGBTQ community and the importance of our rights to exist and live freely. And I'll be talking about the constant harassment we've been facing nowadays in the world. I initially created this artwork last June, but then I wanted to make an educative video with a time-lapse to create awareness and share my artwork at the same time, but due to things that happened in my life back then, I couldn't do it in June, and I spent time on some other endeavors, and so this video as well as my YouTube channel journey couldn't start until now. But here I am with the Stonewall Inn. As always, I started by drawing the outlines to give the shape of the building. I wanted to keep the same shape as the original building, so I tried my best to draw it depending on the real one. So what is Stonewall? I assume many of you may know this place, but if you haven't heard of it yet, the Stonewall Inn is an important place for all the LGBTQ+ people, including myself. It is an historical bar that is located in Manhattan, New York. It is an historical place that became a place and a safe space where queer people could socialize, and it is a cultural monument that serves as a historical landmark. But that safe space wasn't always safe. LGBTQ+ people have been suffering from social sanction and legal harassment for a long time, for their gender identity, sexual orientation, or simply for existing outside the norms of cis-heteronormative patriarchy, and which have been criminalized under the pretext of protecting religion, morality, or so-called family values. Until 1973, when the American Psychiatric Association removed homosexuality from being a disorder, homosexuality was clinically classified as a mental disorder, and many places in the United States had discriminatory laws that forbade same-sex relationships and denied basic rights to anyone suspected of being queer. The 1960s and previous years were difficult times for people in the States because non-conforming gender identities and same-sex relations were illegal in many states, including New York. For that reason, gay bars became places where queer individuals could socialize in relative safety from public harassment. And Stonewall Inn was one of them. While it was illegal to identify as a queer, people entered those places by bribery. But one day, that bribery wasn't enough for them to socialize in this place, and that was the final straw and the beginning of the movement. In 28th of June 1969, a police raid at the Stonewall Inn happened and sparked the Stonewall Uprising and modern LGBTQ+ civil rights movement. Over the following 6 days, people from every walk of life within the LGBTQ+ community engaged in protests and violent clashes and stood up against the systemic oppression and discrimination they had faced over a long time. This act of defiance marked a crucial turning point in the fight for LGBTQ+ rights. The spirit of Stonewall spread across the states and the world and inspired countless individuals to come out and fight for their rights and for equality. A year after that first raid, on June 28, 1970, a march was organized by hundreds of activists and thousands of people held from the Stonewall Inn to Central Park. Since then, Pride marches have been organized in major cities all over the world. Over time, Pride has grown into a month-long period of celebrations, protests, acts of resistance, and a struggle for existence. Pride is important to create awareness, to educate people, and to show support to other LGBTQ+ people, and to love ourselves proudly and passionately, even when the world tries to deny us. It is a reminder of a long, ongoing fight for our right to exist, to live freely, and to be who we are without fear. Many countries, including mine, still don't recognize gender identity, gender orientation, or even gender equality rights. That's why it is important to celebrate Pride Month. That's why we put our Pride flags on our profiles, on our streets, on our windows. That's to show support to all the LGBTQ+ people and to create awareness to claim our rights. On the other hand, Stonewall National Monument is the place that includes the Stonewall Inn, Christopher Park, and nearby streets. On the 55th anniversary of Stonewall Uprising, June 28, 2024, the first official National Visitor Center in the United States dedicated to the LGBTQ+ community opened, making it a unique touristic destination worldwide. However, in 2025, the Stonewall National Monument faced significant erasure from the recent government. Because of government's executive order, all mentions of transgender and queer people were removed from the official National Park Service website. So the spirit of Stonewall is not just history, the fight still continues today. And the year is 2025 and we are still facing similar oppression, discrimination and violence all around the world. On the days we should be talking about living in a peaceful world as a world citizen, we are instead witnessing a terrifying rise in authoritarianism, hatred and oppression against the LGBTQ+ community. In the United States, the government is fueling hatred, especially against trans people. The government have taken steps to shut down diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Many major companies announced that they are scaling back their policies about that. The hatred against queer people is getting normalized and legalized, and this will significantly affect the general health of queer people and increase the likelihood of hate crimes against us. The government directed the Centers for Disease Control to take down web pages and reports addressing gender identity, transgender health, and disparities affecting the LGBTQ+ community. They also signed an order to withdraw the United States from the World Health Organization. This decision carries significant risks as World Health Organization has explicitly warned that denying gender identity recognition and isolating LGBTQ+ individuals can severely harm both physical and mental health. The toxicity, bullying, harassment, and violence that LGBTQ+ people experience will significantly increase. In addition to these rollbacks, the government signed an executive order declaring that there are only two sexes. This move directly erases legal recognition of transgender individuals and restricts their rights. The administration started to replace LGBTQ+ with LGB in official documents, which mirrors historical efforts to erase gender research and trans identities. And this is not just happening in the United States. In many parts of the world, our rights are being taken away and LGBTQ+ people are being criminalized simply for existing. Why is it always us that suffer from the arrogance of power of these rulers? What is the reason of this discriminative ideology and the reason of this entire chaos of hatred, discrimination, violence and threats? Because there is an undereducated, ignorant group of people that believes every single thing, every single lie they say through media tools. Because there is a group of hateful people that is ready to be provoked against us. Because there is a group of people that hate diversity and inclusion and anything that they don't accept. Because there is a group of people that hate gender equality, sexual orientation equality, feminism, freedom, different races, different beliefs, different ideologies, different lives, and equal rights for the whole humanity. And more importantly, that horrible group of people discriminatively thinking that some lives are unworthy and thinking that those lives need to be erased from existence. Throughout history, in oppressive regimes, it was always the minorities who were targeted the first. Same for Germany in the 1930s, with the primary target being the Institute for Sexual Science and the scientific books about gender and sexuality. Scientific truths and public knowledge were burned, and now the same thing is currently happening in the United States, with the government targeting queer community. They are threatening queer people, specifically trans and intersex people, because their existence contradicts their fascist worldview. Generally speaking, people tend to fear what they don't understand and are eager to spread this fear to others. All governmental organizations, mainstream and partisan media, politicians, and even academics that manipulate scientific data according to their own ideological truths are spreading statements that reinforce this fear and legitimize hatred. Additionally, these people use provocative language and attitudes to manipulate religious and conservative people. In this way, they are trying to further divide society by increasing polarization within the community. And in order to create more unquestioning and obedient individuals, they are undermining the education system. I should note that I specifically mentioned academics that manipulate science according to their own truths, because science has no intention to spread hatred and discrimination, but people can use science as a tool of discrimination in a non-scientific and unethical way, through methods such as diversion, distortion, and falsification. Extreme nationalist and conservative ideologies serve to divide, exploit, and manipulate people rather than unite them. When people become too emotionally attached to what is seen as common values, such as the traditional family, the ability to question goes away. In this case, these people turn into robots. They only act with their emotions, they accept ideas without questioning or thinking. They become ready to be triggered into action with a single word, and they are trapped in an echo chamber close to the outside world. Authoritarian governments tend to become more aggressive in certain periods of their rule, and queer people are the ones who suffer the most from these violations and threats. In order to gain more supporters and stay in governmental power, governments and its partisans are manipulating these extreme nationalist, conservative, and religious people with words like traditional family, divine family structure, and family values to discriminate anything against their cis-heteronormative patriarchy. They are polarizing the community to take the votes of these people that gather against us, and they provoke them using their hate, bigotry, prejudgment, and lack of education. And yes, it is 2025, and we should be talking about the world peace, but we are far away from social equity and human rights. So that's it. I made this Pixelart in 5 days, roughly about 10 hours of drawing. I really struggle a lot in Pixelart sometimes, but some other times I just start and finish the artwork in just 1 day. The Stonewall Inn was in between those two creative moods, and it mostly depends on the difficulty of the work and of course the canvas size. And it is always important to create awareness and educate people about LGBTQ+ community, and that is what motivated me to make this video. Before I wrap up the video, I want to finish it with the Daft Punk's song from Human After All album, Television Rules the Nation. Now think about it for a few seconds and you will see what I mean. So that was the history of Stonewall. If you liked the video and you want more videos like this, make sure to like and subscribe, and also don't forget to leave a comment and tell me what I should draw next. I really want to spend more time in Pixelart and content creation, but as I mentioned earlier, I am primarily focused on finishing my own game project, Run Code Run. So I'm not quite sure whether the next video will release anytime soon, but it eventually will release, so don't forget to leave a comment and tell me what I should draw next. So thank you so much for tuning in. I have been Chelopings, and I hope to see you in the next video.